Hi, Gloria Lybecker here with Healing You. Do you ever feel overwhelmed being the parent? And would it just be so sweet if someone could understand how it is to be you on a cellular level? To know exactly what your ongoing experience is? Does your window of tolerance, does it shrink? Or does it get stretched so far that you feel like you're either going to burst in frustration or faint from despair? Well, that's where I found myself repeatedly in relationship with my son. When his nervous system would get so heightened and his energy would feel so big, my nervous system would alert me that my cup was near empty. And I would know that I was in dire need of some empathy. And while being heard and held by others with care, with resonant empathy, it's so immensely calming for my nervous system. You know, there's sometimes that we have to find ways to give ourselves compassion when we're all alone. So one time I recognized in the heat of the moment that a part of me was believing that the pain of disconnection was going to last forever. And nothing would be able to change that pain. That no one would ever want to hang out with us as a mom and her child. That we were too much. That we were too different. And that it was just too hard for others to be around us. So I really fell into this pit of despair. And I remember feeling lost. And when words like forever come up, it's a key cue for me to observe and notice that I've fallen into what I refer to as the ever-present past. So it's like a trauma bubble of an experience we had when we were younger, but it feels as if it's happening right here, right now. As I sat in this experience, I could feel shame as it spread across my cheeks, and I just hung my head. I was weary, just weary to the bone, and I felt hopeless. I remember sitting with the question, how can I possibly keep my cup full enough to stay present with unconditional love and acceptance, especially in the midst of when I'm perceiving that it's hard, forceful energy that's coming at me. Oh. Well, now I can see with clarity that I needed to develop the capacity to be present in my experience of myself with unconditional love and acceptance before I could offer that to my child. One particularly difficult day, I felt a sense of urgency to find some way out of my empathy deficit. And at the time, I wasn't able to reach out to others for support. So I got out my deck of Grok cards. Those are Grok, Grok. Those are needs and values cards. And I sat down at my table and I began to sort them one at a time into two piles. One pile were the needs and values that really resonated with my felt sense. And what I mean by that is I would notice the sensations in my body while focusing on the card. The other pile that I made of needs and values cards had virtually no effect on my body. So out of 54 cards, 33 of them resonated with me. Wow. That symbolizes a lot of needs and values. And I noticed as I just sat with that acknowledgement of what is, that my body shifted and it relaxed slightly. So then I took those 33 cards and I placed them into clusters of needs and values under 7 basic human needs that I listed out as connection, integrity, play, peace, well-being, meaning, and choice. And I saw that the cluster under the need for connection was really big. There were 16 cards in that cluster. And those needs were connection, consideration, compassion, and empathy, to matter and belong, predictability, to be heard, for help and support, trust, understanding, respect, dependability, shared reality, and reassurance, to have my intentions seen, and for friendship. So going over them again, I let out this really loud sigh. It was really long. And I felt my abdomen released. So the simplicity of actually taking the time to see myself, to hear myself, and to matter to myself, the actual act of taking time for myself, such an unexpected gift. So next I focused on the second largest cluster of needs and values. And I counted 7 cards. Peace, harmony, ease and comfort, hope, balance, order, and efficiency. I felt the tension in my shoulders let go as I took a deep breath. And I realized in the moment how deeply I longed to live my dream of peace and harmony on earth, and the experience to offer ease and comfort, especially in relationship with my son. So with a renewed sense of hope, I picked up a smaller cluster, and in there was self-expression, appreciation, meaning and purpose, and mourning. Mourning was a biggie. Mourning the lack of integration and self-connection, to even be able to express with contingent communication. I longed for enoughness, no matter what the environment held. Oh yeah. And then I focused on the remaining cards, and I noticed a couple of them stood out brighter than any of the others in the stack: safety and choice. You know, when I perceived my neuroception of safety as threatened, then my prefrontal cortex, where my ability to be present and make conscious choices arises, where it resides, it dims. It becomes inhibited. And at the same time, as I flip my lid, my amygdala lights up. It's my emotional alarm system. And it prioritizes my perceived sense of safety above everything else. And this automatic response had been conditioned into my nervous system by my previous life experiences. And I understand now that in those moments, unless I had the capacity to tap into empathy first, I would quickly perceive myself as a victim in my own environment. So a few days later, I began to have another crisis of imagination. It's another way of saying I was just on the verge of flipping my lid, because my window of tolerance was being stretched beyond belief with, again, strong, forceful energy. Yet I was inspired because of my previous experience a couple days before, that I grabbed my deck of cards again. And guess what? It was astonishing to me. Nearly all the very same needs and values resonated with me. I remember thinking that was amazing. But this time, as I sorted them into clusters, and I sat with each cluster to sense into my core needs and values, I discovered that my longing had subtly shifted around safety and choice. And the distinction was, how can I experience staying clear with my own intention in order to offer myself and others unconditional love and presence? How do I keep myself and others safe while engaging with the big energy that comes up in life? What I've learned on this journey is how vital it is to have empathy support, especially when our system feels overwhelmed with the emotions of anger and fear. When you're held with care and compassion by another being while you process your experience, including tuning into your bodily sensations, then the pathways between your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala, they're strengthened. And with repeated experiences of receiving resonant empathy, you may begin to experience an ability to remain present in environments where you previously felt overwhelmed. And in those moments of clarity, you'll be able to see yourself with compassion by guessing what your needs may be that are rising up in the moment. It's called self-empathy. And this broadens that neural pathway while strengthening your resilience from the inside out. I also find journaling my self-empathy process, or the experience, if I just note it down, it really supports my ability to integrate and make meaning from my narrative. As I'm empowered to sit with and hold my inner experience with compassionate understanding, there's a visceral shift that opens my being and opens my eyes to perceive the beauty of consciously living in this radically different paradigm. And in this space, there's a playfulness that emerges that reminds me of warm, sunny days and the delight that I felt as a child awakens within me once more. Are you on your path? Are you ready to, step into the light? Begin to develop your capacity for self-acceptance, for self-compassion, and be present with whatever life hands your way. If you'd like some accompaniment on your journey, reach out to me today at healingyoursanctuary.com. Thanks for being on the journey with me today. Healing you.